Norman and a member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment will reduce the salary of Michael Regan, Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, to the large sum of $1. And I now call on my good farmer friend from Illinois, Mary Miller, for as much time as she needs.
The gentlewoman from Illinois is recognized.
Thank you, Congressman Norman. In April, EPA Administrator Regan testified before the House Agriculture Committee, and he told me, quote, "The EPA doesn't incentivize solar panels. We're a regulatory agency." His statement to the committee was blatantly false. The EPA does incentivize solar panels, which is why I just introduced an amendment to strip all funding from the EPA's Solar for All program. The Biden administration wants to cover rich, fertile farmland that we use to grow food with Chinese solar panels. I support this amendment because we must send the message to the EPA to leave the farmers alone and never mislead Congress when testifying. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from South Carolina reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Maine seek recognition?
Claim time in opposition.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Look, I find, I don't know that I could say it any better than the chair of the Interior Appropriations Committee did about the reason that it never makes sense to use this amendment to reduce somebody's salary. You are, in effect, reducing somebody's salary to $1 is basically firing them. And when it comes to Michael Regan, the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, you're talking about a hardworking public servant. I think we're very fortunate to have him there, to have him dealing with some of the biggest challenges our country is facing, whether it's climate change, environmental pollution, moving our country forward in a very difficult time. We are grateful to have him there, and to ask a public servant to take $1 for their hard work carrying out this administration's goals is ludicrous. And to my colleague on the Agriculture Committee, we serve together and have many areas that we work together on, to have sort of a grudge match about this consideration about solar panels on agricultural land, frankly, doesn't make any sense to me. Of course his mission is to make sure we incentivize solar panels. Absolutely, of course. But to say that he's trying to do this on rich, fertile farmland goes against the mission of the USDA, goes against the mission of this administration. It's always a difficult balance to figure out where to put solar panels. I know in my state, we've found some projects where we have dual use, where some kinds of agriculture actually can accommodate solar panels and also have grazing land, blueberry land. We have a variety of things going on. Nobody thinks we should use rich farmland in a time when we are losing farmland all too fast for solar panels, and I'm sure Administrator Regan doesn't either. But incentivizing solar panels, yes, that's absolutely the mission of the EPA. I'm thrilled they're doing that, moving us faster and faster towards renewable energy. So I urge my colleagues to reject this amendment, and I reserve.
Does the gentlewoman yield?
Reserve.
You reserve. The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I just take issue. $1 is, we're providing a person an opportunity to volunteer, which is a tremendous opportunity. And, you know, if you want to be serious about combating emissions and supporting good environmental policies, why don't we start with getting countries like India, Communist China, to reduce their pollution? Nobody says anything about that from the left. The administration is only interested in creating unfair, costly, and burdensome regulations that will kill American jobs. I'm a developer. We figured, you mentioned solar panels, we priced them. Guess where most of the components of solar panels are made? China, which is not exactly a friend. Mr. Regan's salary is a whopping $183,000. And like I said, we're promoting volunteerism and doing good work for mankind. I urge my colleagues to support my amendment. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields his time. The gentlewoman from Maine is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to respond to a couple of concerns that my colleague on the other side of the aisle raised. If we're about to promote a culture of volunteerism. I think it's very hard to ask the hardworking administrators of the EPA to serve for $1 when we all get paid $175,000 a year, which is a lot of money in my home state. I'm very grateful that the taxpayers of this country support us to that tune, but I think until all of us are willing to take $1 for our work, it's hard to ask the hardworking members of the administration to do the same. And to say that somehow members of the left don't want India or China to reduce their impact in climate change, their use of fossil fuels, that's ludicrous. I know that Secretary Kerry has spent a lot of time meeting with those countries and trying to reduce the things that they are doing that impact climate change. I agree, those countries have to reduce it just as we are reducing it in this country. And to say that solar panels somehow should be not used in this country because we are dependent on buying them on China, well, that's based on the short-sightedness of Republicans who have consistently blocked our involvement in renewable energy. And had you voted for the IRA, you would have seen that we're incentivizing American manufacturing and doing our best to return the manufacturing of those solar panels to this country. And if we're going to consistently oppose renewable energy and oppose the manufacture of renewable energy, we're just going to fall further and further behind in making sure that we are making those components here in the United States. So once again, I reject this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from South Carolina. Those in favor say